Hi everybody, good evening. This is Brooke Lyle, and we are about 90 minutes away from World Series Game 6. Before I do that, I'm changing things up a bit. I'm doing my first football episode in a long time, and right now I'm here to talk about the Cleveland Browns and kind of their disappointing season. So as we all know, I've changed settings, I've moved studios, I've moved indoors now. It's going to be a different setting, and I'm mostly going to be indoors. This is going to be my main recording studio. I may have another recording studio in different rooms at times. I think will just vary depending on the circumstances and, of course, the time of day. But for now, this is where we'll be most of the time. I want to let you know I also got a new headset. So this is obviously going to be on YouTube and is also also recorded as a podcast format as well. So just to let everybody know, about half of the time I decided to do this, I'm going to alternate. Half of the time I'm going to be recording with a microphone. You'll see that in the background. And the camera angle may be different depending on each studio. Like where I am recording right now, there's less space than where I used to record. But anyways, half of the time I'll be recording like this. Other times I'll be recording with a headset on. So it's going to depend. It's going to vary. So anyways, I read about the Browns today. I read numerous articles, whether it was The Athletic or CBSSports.com. I want to share two articles I wrote about on the Browns. So this is written by The Athletic, written by Zach Jackson. So not very positive towards Freddie Kitchens. Yes, and this is really talking about the Patriots game, and I watched it. I watched the Browns Patriots game, and it was not very good at all. I mean, they had 3 turnovers in the first quarter. 3 turnovers in the first quarter. I think Chubb fumbled. I think when they're inside of their own 20, and then they had, a 52-yard run. He fumbled again, and then I have never seen this before. I've watched a lot of football. So I've been watching the NFL since 2008. And interception on a shovel pass. Very rare since, first of all, like you see how the Chiefs run shovel passes, very well organized, very well run. I think they won't run the most amount of shovel passes. You just flip to somebody when they're kind of close to the line of scrimmage, right? Where Baker Mayfield managed to throw an interception on a shovel pass and really, really made the Browns look bad. And they're now 2-5. So playing, and also read another article by Joe. I have a hard time pronouncing his name. I think it's Joe Posnanski, who mostly writes about the MLB. I think wrote for MLB.com over the years. Also writes for the MLB with the Athletic. Mostly does MLB stuff, but I believe he's also a Browns fan, so he gets to write about the Browns every week too. And people are kind of negative towards Freddie Kitchens, which he took over last year, transformed their offense, made Hugh Jackson look bad, which was the reason why he was fired. Say 2 or 3 times was fired by Oakland and by the Browns, and was given so many opportunities despite 1-31 stretch. And this year's just not working out for whatever reason. Patriots, they look bad. The Patriots were clearly a much better team. There's no question about it. But the disappointing thing is they're now 2-5, and the disappointing thing is Baker Mayfield is now is throwing 6 interceptions to 12, or 6 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. So he has a 2-to-1 touchdown interception rate. He threw 14 last year, and he had twice as many passing attempts. So Baker Mayfield's really having a really poor season. It's been going on really since the beginning of the year. And this is year 2 now for Mayfield. So obviously, you're going to give him more time. This may have just been a down year. I think quarterbacks go through slumps all the time. But the start he got off to where he broke Peyton Manning's record. Now, I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning. He broke Peyton Manning's rookie record for most touchdowns in a season. So when you had that record broken, this is when you saw a difference, right? Is he going to break Peyton Manning's the rest of his records? Passing yards since been broken by Breeze, and touchdown passes, I think it's also been broken by Breeze. Will Will Baker Mayfield approach those records? Who knows? Who knows? It's very early in his young career, but it's just, and probably not. Probably not. It's just a disappointing. I mean, he's on pace to throw. He's played 7 games so far. He's on pace to throw. Oh, round the number up. 25 interceptions. So almost double his total from last year. Right? And to make matters worse, Nick Chubb, another stat I want. And again, this is going to change. They played 7 games. Kareem Hunt's suspension's halfway over. This is only going to last one more game, but Chubb is basically all their rushing offense. They don't have anybody. 134 of 147 rushing attempts in. 138 out of 800. 738 out of 878 in terms of rushing yards. So he has 19 attempts this year, up from 12 last year. So you round the number a little bit up, round the other number a little bit down. That's basically, he has 4 more carries. The exact percentage, I don't know. I know it's increased by more than, more than 50%. I don't know what the number is, but point being, he's going to be worn down. I mean, you look at his total carries this year. I mean, let's just say next game he gets to 150. He's on pace for 300 carries. And he's not going to get there. I think his workload's really going to slow down if Kareem Hunt. Maybe that jump starts their season. Maybe everything changes. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, another stat I want to read. 1 combined touchdown receptions. They have 1 combined touchdown reception. So that's just everything you see. So I think the Browns had any chance to beat the Patriots yesterday? No. I thought they had no chance at all to beat the Patriots. The Patriots were clearly the better team. And I think that would have been the case at the beginning of the year. I mean, there's all those turnovers. I mean, were they in the game? No. I mean, maybe. It was 17-0. They ended up winning. The Patriots ended up winning 27-13. So I guess you can say the Browns played with them after that. You'd say, oh, it's a moral victory play. We had a good 3 quarters. No. And if there's any team that deserves to have a moral victory, and maybe we'll talk about it later this week, I don't know, it would have been the Chiefs last week against the Packers. But there are no moral victories in the NFL. A loss is a loss. I don't care what sport it is. At the end of the day, when you lose, you lose. You're 2-5 now. You really don't have much time to make ground up. Everything just disappointing. So I want to get to another article. So just reading The Athletic, very negative towards Kitchens. This is from CBS Sports. This was written by Jeff Kerr. And there are 2 quotes that I want to read. One is from Freddie Kitchens, and the other one is from Odell Beckham. So here are the quotes. First is from Freddie Kitchens. Quote, Odell has 7 balls thrown to him, Kitchens said via Pro Football Talk. He caught 5 of them. End quote. Quote again. He caught 5 of them. I'm not responding to that. We need to win a football game. This is what I'm about. End quote. So for Kitchens, this is a team game. So he can't be worried about how much the ball gets thrown to Odell Beckham. He's worried about winning, right? So that's just a small part of the team, right? And understandably so, right? Since they're talking about, so Kitchens does not think Odell. So what he thinks is he's not worried about the numbers. He's not worried about how much or little Odell got the ball. He's more worried about winning. He could care less about this. To where Odell went on to say, from Beckham, quote, I think we kind of shied away from it. Beckham said after Sunday, end quote. Quote again, I was expecting and looking forward to it, but that wasn't the case today. We had a couple plays, but for whatever reason, we didn't do as much challenging as we talked about. Other than whatever came my way, pretty much I caught. Whatever opportunities I had, I made the most of them. You can only control what you can control, end quote. So that was a statement made by Beckham. So Beckham thought he had a good game. He thought he made the most of his opportunities. Right? So he said he didn't get the ball enough. Who is right in this scenario? Who would you side with more? I don't think it's about picking sides. Alright? They're obviously both frustrated. Kitchens that they lost the game, obviously, and Odell didn't think they got the ball enough, and thought the plan was for him to get the ball more. And he said when the ball did come the way, he made the most of it. Sure, maybe he did make the most of it. Maybe under the circumstances when he caught the ball, he made the most of it, and he can only control the stuff when he had the ball. So he's saying he had lack of control in the game and wants more control. So, two things. One, Freddie Kitchens, towards the end of his quote, said, "We need to win a football game. That is why I'm worried." Yes, the Browns do need to win a football game. They are 2-5. They absolutely need to win a football game. They're on pace to have a losing record. Once again, they're on pace, whether they win or lose the next game, and we'll talk about their schedule in a minute. So whether they win or lose their next game, yes, they're on pace to either win 4 games or 6 games. Maybe they meet in the middle and they win 5. Where Odell wasn't talking about really losses. Sure, I think some of it was talking about the loss. He didn't directly say, "Oh, that was a tough loss, we should have won." I think he was talking more about himself and why he didn't get the ball enough, which I can understand that. Odell thinks he should have done more and could have done more. And maybe he thinks, "Oh, I didn't contribute enough. Maybe I wasn't given enough opportunities to contribute." So I think it's some of that. They're obviously both frustrated, for sure. And this has been a disappointing year. I mean, I also read the article. I mean, I forgot the exact numbers, but I think it was talking about how ranking in league-wide categories is not at the very top of categories, like, say, receptions, receiving yards, targets, receiving touchdowns. I think he has just 1 this year, and Landry has 0. I talked about that earlier, right? So Odell's is on pace to have put up lower numbers than he did, say, in New York. And the year the Giants went to the playoffs that year, Odell had one of his very best years of his career, right? This is obviously frustrating. And for this Browns team, think about all the publications: Sports Illustrated, NFL.com, whatever. The Browns were very hyped. In fact, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Jarvis Landry, which that magazine, by the way, Sports Illustrated. I just canceled my subscription. I'm no longer reading it. I've read it on and off for the last 11 years. Since 2008, but I've decided I think I'm pretty much done with Sports Illustrated. I'll only read stuff on the website occasionally. It is kind of cool to see who's on the cover, though, but again, just too much reading. But point being, the Browns were overhyped. They were supposed to be the team of the league, right? Many people had them winning the North. They were favorites to win the North. Me, and I think they'll talk about this next week. Since we'll be mid-season, everyone by week 9 will get a chance to play 8 games, some 9. I will talk about the NFL halfway through. At its midway point, I will go back and talk about my preseason predictions that I made way back in early September. For the Browns, I think I had them as a wild card team. I think I had them losing. I can't remember this, but I think I had them losing the Patriots in the divisional round. I'll go over that next week. But the point being, the Browns had so much hype. But I think I remember talking about them. I think there's a Bleacher Report article that came out right at the start of the season. I think I talked about how the Browns might be overhyped. And they were overhyped. And when you're a team, regardless of the sport, you can let's take a step out and compare other teams. I remember the Dwight Howard, Steve Nash Lakers, right? We thought, they're going to the finals. Kobe Bryant's going to win his 6th ring just like Michael Jordan. This is going to be great. The Lakers are going to be really good. And basically, I think everyone was hurt. They had a lot of injuries that year, and they basically had to work very hard. They barely got into the playoffs. And one of the reasons why they're in the playoffs is the Kobe Bryant torn Achilles just gave every possible last amount of energy that he had. And that's really the last time where he thought Kobe was really a superstar. By any means, right? So there was that, not living up to hype. But this happens in baseball too. The Nationals in 2015, which I know this more than anybody, or more than most people, got Max Scherzer, they had Bryce Harper, who did go on to win the MVP that year. When Bryce Harper said, "Where's my ring?" So there's overhyped teams. There's teams that spend money, that win the offseason. The Redskins may have done this many times over the years. This happens in sports, where you win the offseason, but the question is, do you win in the regular season? Does that tribute? I mean, the Heat, we remember they did it, back in 2010, and it worked. It worked. They won 2 championships out of it. Went to the finals all 4 years. But when they did not win a championship, they failed their expectations, right? So yes, the Browns won the offseason. They did. And give them credit, in 2 years they went from being 0-16 to talk of winning the Super Bowl. But the problem with the Browns is they're just overhyped. There was too much hype. And I think the Browns were sure they wanted to live up to the hype, but they've missed expectations. If this was this time last year, oh, they're 2-5. That's great. Oh, good for them. They're winning games. That's progress. That's progress. Now, no. You have Odell Beckham. You've had Odell Beckham, right? I think that's the biggest reason. And you had Nick Chubb coming off a rookie season. And you had Baker Mayfield, who both had really good rookie years, breaking the rookie record for most touchdowns. They're expected to take a big step forward. And clearly the Browns have missed expectations. There's no way around it. So now I just kind of want to go through their schedule right now. So week 1. And that's when you could appear to be talking about that Titans game. Yes, Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions that game. They had a bunch of bad turnovers. They looked awful that game. Lost to the Titans, a team that basically, great defense, especially last year, but the offenses kept them from really taking big strides forward, from possibly winning the South back-to-back years. They beat the Jets, and that's the game where you started to see flashes from the Browns. The Jets were, and granted, the Jets did not have Sam Darnold that game. It was Luke Falk, who has since been released. The Jets did literally nothing that game. That was awful. Week 3, they played the Rams. They lost that game 20-13. That was really, it was in Cleveland, I remember that. This is the Browns' really big test, playing the defending Super Bowl champion, the Rams. The Rams are not as good as what people might have thought they are. They'll probably make it to the playoffs, but they're not what they were last year. And they lost that. Statement win, they beat the Ravens 40-20. That's when the offense clicks. That's one of the only games that really clicked. And they beat the Ravens, who are now 5-2. The Ravens have not lost since, while the Browns have not won since. So, again, their roles have been reversed. And that at that point in time, I thought the Browns, you could talk about them being division favorites, since, again, they had the tiebreaker over the Ravens, right? Week 5, they lost to the 49ers 31-3. To be honest, the games I did watch, I watched all of their I watched on live TV, I watched 3 of their first 4 games. I did not watch the Monday night game. That was during the middle of the playoffs, but I might have taken a look at it. But again, you score 3 points against the Niners. Again, that's a great Niners defense. But at the same time, you score 40 and then you score 3 Monday Night Football. So again, think about the Browns. You notice the pattern here? Jets, Monday Night Football. Rams, Sunday Night Football. 49ers, Monday Night Football. And now, obviously, the Patriots, the CBS game of the week, right? So that's 4 times now that they've been featured, at least as a national televised game where everybody's watching, where they are the game that everybody's talking about, right? And they beat the Jets, but they lost 3 out of those games, right? So the league, throughout the first half of the season, was giving the Browns a lot of opportunities to showcase who they really are. So there's hype there. And then they had a bad loss to the Seahawks in week 6, a game they should have won, right? 38-32. And then losing to the Patriots. So again, when you saw the schedule, I'm sure as a Browns fan you're very excited. Because maybe you think, oh, what if that's a game where if they win that game, maybe people talk about, oh, how good the Browns are, right? How good the Browns are. The Patriots are one of the best teams we've ever seen, especially defensive-wise. This may be their best team. This may be their best team. Who knows if they're better than those 7 Patriots? Who knows? But I think the Patriots could go undefeated this year. They really very well could go 19-0. So there's no shame in losing the Patriots. But that is a problem. Not showing up against the Titans. Blowing the game against the Seahawks, really blowing a huge lead against the Seahawks. Those were huge concerns right there. But being 2-5, that's their problem. And I'm going to read off their schedule the rest of the way rapid fire. So here we go. At Broncos, week 9, versus the Bills, versus the Steelers, versus the Dolphins. That'll be easy. A terrible Dolphins. They should win that at the Steelers. Should play the Steelers 2 times in 3 weeks. Bills defense again. We saw what happened against the Niners and the Patriots. That's another top 5 defense in the NFL. At Cardinals, Ravens again. And I guess the Bengals to end the season. So you're playing the Bengals once, Steelers twice, and the Ravens one more time. But Ravens 5-2, now the Browns 2-5. So I'm not gonna guess if they're gonna win each game. But here's one thing to keep in mind: they are 2-5 right now. They have 9 games to play. If they go 6-3, good finish, right? They're 8-8. In order to have a winning record, they have to go 7-2. 8-1, that's 10-6, right? So they almost have to win out to make it to the playoffs. And there's no way they're going to win the division. I think the North, as of right now, is almost certainly the Ravens' division. Now, next week they're playing the Broncos, and the Ravens are playing the Patriots, so they can at least put a dent into the Ravens, possibly as soon as next week. But again, when they beat the Ravens, they were 2-2, right? They had the tiebreaker against the Ravens, so that was their opportunity to maybe even possibly take control of the division at that point in time. People were talking about the Browns winning the division for real. And 8-8 this year, that's going to be disappointing here. It doesn't matter if they went 6-3 to finish the season out. Or if they go 9-7, nice 7-2 finish, and miss the playoffs, that's not going to matter. It's going to be a disappointing season. Since A, maybe that showed they made a little progress, if any, maybe even a setback. And B, all the offseason moves they made, all the hype they had, they missed expectations. So whatever they do, what if they make it to the playoffs and lose in the first round? Maybe they still miss expectations. Since some people had them going to the Super Bowl. I bet some people had them winning the Super Bowl. Some people might have thought they're better than the Patriots even. We know that now, that is not even close to the case. Or that they're going to win the North. Almost certainly not. Or that they were, at the very least, going to make it to the playoffs. I thought they were. I thought they had a good shot at the playoffs at the very least. Now they're going to have to almost win out if they want to make it to the playoffs. It's possible they could go 8-1 the rest of the way and still miss the playoffs at 10-6. It happens. Teams that are 10-6 miss the playoffs in games that they lost so far that could come down to tiebreakers. So really, in the AFC losses, Titans, I don't know how they do, but if they're 10-6, they're both 10-6, they're both 9-7. Maybe that's a tiebreaker that goes to the Titans. The Jets are not going to go to the, well, they beat the Jets anyways, but they're not going to go to the playoffs. So they beat the Ravens at the time, but that was nice at the time. They at least have the 1-0 tiebreaker against the Ravens, and if they can somehow put a dent and they can get hot and the Ravens cool off and they beat the Ravens again, maybe that's the only way they win the division. If they can just get close to the Ravens and get within a game of them when they play each other and they somehow win, to beat the Ravens twice, I think that's their only opportunity. But they have to get hot. They have to turn things around. And being 2-5 tells me this is not a playoff team, and it is unlikely that the Browns make it to the playoffs. And it's going to be a disappointing year. You know, since when you have that much hype and you don't live up to the hype and even fall far short of expectations, that's the consequences of this team. So we'll see if the Browns turn around. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how the 2-5 Browns finish. Thank you for listening.